Hey guys, World War II vehicle guy here. I apologize here for the lack of content the last couple months. My wife and I were going through some pretty hard times in our lives, but that has been put behind us now, and we're starting fresh again for our future. So I'm hoping to make some more content here with the trucks. I wanted to show off the latest acquisition here to the collection. A friend and I are both going to own this truck. But it's going to stay here and live its life in my garage, and then I'll be doing all the mechanical work on it, everything like that, but we're both going to enjoy it. Essentially what we have here is a 1943 Dodge WC63. This was Dodge's answer to the ton-and-a-half truck. A lot of people love these trucks, and a lot of people hate them. The reason people, I wouldn't say hate them, but they don't prefer them compared to like the G506 is they're extremely underpowered for what they are. They essentially took the same engine that the WC51 had in it and shoved it here into this truck, and it weighs probably about 2,500 more pounds. So they're a little bit of a dog. This truck would have originally had a T223 6-cylinder as opposed to the T214 and the 3/4 tons. Now, there's no difference between the two. It's just the designation's a little bit different. Unfortunately, this one doesn't have the T223 anymore. It does have a T214 military engine now, so that's good news at least. I don't know if it was swapped out at some point in its service life, because I don't see a civilian putting a military correct engine into one of these trucks. They'd probably just swap in a regular 230. But this one's pretty neat, especially since it's a winch truck. A WC62 was a non-winch. A WC63 was a winch, and that does work. It's fully functional. Unfortunately, this old girl, she's had a pretty rough life. The Mother Nature hasn't been too kind on it. It's sat out for a long time. But now that it's here in my garage, it's going to be safe for the rest of its years. Like I said, a friend of mine and myself are going to own this truck together. It'll be staying here, and I'll be doing all the mechanical work on it. This truck, we think, has sat for about 10 years. So she kind of put up a fight trying to get it going again. I do have some clips and videos of me getting it running here for the first time. My wife's supposed to put together a video for that. That was quite interesting. Essentially, it was a couple miles from my house. I worked on it there, got it running and driving again, and I attempted to road trip it home a few miles. Unfortunately, I only got about 2 miles in, and it started vapor locking on me. So we had to flat tow it the rest of the way home. My wife wasn't too thrilled about it, but she got some pretty entertaining video. So hopefully I'll have that released here sooner rather than later. Just want to kind of give a little introduction to it. Like I said, this truck's had a pretty rough life, but it's going to spend the rest of its life here in my garage. We do have all the top bows for it. And this truck, we also do have the machine gun mount, so that's pretty neat. I've had a lot of people trying to buy that off of us because you don't see too many trucks with that machine gun mount. And we also have the dummy 50 caliber for it. Right now, we got her up on jack stands here. I need to do a complete brake job. I had to do some axle seals and a few other things. Essentially, what we're doing here is I should have my wheel cylinder rebuild kits here tomorrow. I opted to rebuild the wheel cylinders instead of replacing them. 6 wheel cylinders would get pretty pricey here, so I decided I would try and rebuild them and see what happens. The bores weren't too terrible. You can see there's a little bit of rust built up in them. Now it's also they've been open here in my garage for a little while, but I did clean them up the best I could. Honed them out, so I think they're going to work okay. There's no deep pitting or anything like that on the bores, so they should work just fine. Get some new cups and seals in there, and then bleed the brakes and go from there. I also did replace all the rubber brake hoses. You always want to make sure you do that because people forget to do those, and then they swell up, and they won't let the brake fluid come back. They hold the brakes on, and then you start smoking. Ask me how I know about that. So you always want to, when you do a brake job on these trucks that have sat for years, you want to replace all the rubber components, especially the brake hoses. So like I said, tomorrow I should have the wheel cylinder rebuild kits. This axle seal was leaking here as well as the front. The front's a whole different story. It's pretty simple task to do here. Essentially pull your axle out, and then you have your big axle nut. Now I do have the correct socket for these Dodges. A lot of people use a hammer and a chisel. I'm not that kind of guy. I like to use the correct socket. I know a lot of old timers, that's all they had, but you know, I have the correct socket, so why not use it? So you get the keeper off, get the nut off, and then there's another nut behind that. Get that all off, and this whole hub assembly comes off, and obviously your axle seal's back here. Pop that out, replace those. I'm gonna clean up the brake shoes the best I can. If they're really contaminated with gear oil, you definitely want to look into replacing them. I think we'll be okay here for this application. Now for the front, I'm not sure what happened over the years, but this front wheel bearing had about 2 inches of play in and out and up and down. So I took it all apart, got new bearings for it, replaced the axle seal, and as you can see now, it's good and tight and moves as it should. Do have lockout hubs. That's a nice feature, especially here on these 6x6s. I've heard they turn like a battleship, especially if you don't have those lockout hubs. So those always help too. She's got a bunch of rust, but we're not going to worry about that right now. Like I said, I just want to focus on this truck mechanically, like all my other trucks, get it running and driving, dependable, and then we'll go from there and start doing the cosmetic work. When I first stumbled upon this truck, I'm not sure if a couple previous attempts were made at trying to get it running, but there was quite a number of things going on here. So the first issue we had as to why it wouldn't start is the points were actually incorrectly installed. So they were actually grounding out on the distributor base instead of actually working, opening, closing, and controlling the ground as they should. They're actually grounding out on the distributor base, so that's obviously going to create a no-spark situation. They were also extremely pitted and corroded. The easiest way, in my opinion, to work on the points on these Dodges is just pull the freaking distributor out. It's one 7/16 bolt. It comes right out of there. Just make sure you remember what way your rotor was pointing. Now, installing the distributor back in one of these, you're either 180 in, you're either 180 out, or you're in, excuse me. So obviously, if you're out of time, you try and crank her over, it's going to let out a big backfire. So at that point in time, just switch it around. Now, if you want to make sure you're good on your timing, get number one up, and then make sure, insert your distributor in, see where the rotor's pointing as compared to the cap. If the rotor's pointing at number one on the cap, then you're good to go. You're in time. Like I said, you're either in or 180 out. So pretty straightforward. So I got it running, and it ran really rough for quite a while. So I was starting to look at the firing order, and here someone had crossed about 3 plug wires. So a firing order on a 6-cylinder is 153624. A lot of people they don't like this, but the old saying is 15 is too young, 36 is too old, 24 is just right. That's what an old timer told me years ago, and that's how I always remember the firing order here on a 6-cylinder engine. So that's a little bit of a good advice tidbit there. So anyway, got that straightened out. It got it running a little bit smoother. I had to rebuild the carb multiple times. The gas in it was about 10 years old. Luckily, I was able to get that drained out, get some good non-ethanol gas and put into it, and then it's slowly coming around here. I'm not going to start it up for you today. We'll do another video on that, considering it's on jack stands. I don't want it to fall off, and then I'll have quite a mess on my hands. But it's slowly coming around. The electrical system on this truck's a little bit of a nightmare, but I was able to get the key switch working again. I got it charging, so that's always a good thing. Like I said, there's that T214 right there. That should be a T223 on these 1.5-ton trucks, but that is a military correct engine, so that's always a good sign. Let's do a little bit of a side walk around here. So here you have your winch. It does work. Here you have what's called a bridge plate. So back in World War II, with this, you see 2 numbers here with a line. That is indicating that this truck is able to pull a trailer across the bridge. Back in the day, if an MP wanted to be a real pain and your truck didn't have 2 numbers, it just had 1, and you were pulling a trailer, he could technically deny you access to going over that bridge because he wasn't sure how much the truck and trailer weighed. So that's That's why you have that bridge plate with 2 numbers and a slash. That means this truck is able to pull a trailer in itself across the bridge, and they'll know exactly what it weighs. That way you don't overload the bridge and collapse it in, because that would never be a good day. It's a little tight in my garage here, but we made it work. You can see here we have unfortunately has some pretty decent rust going on, but like I said, that's all later on down the road. This is where the machine gun mounts the truck. So here, and then on the back side there's another spot where it mounts, and then the ring just sits up in here. The seats, I'll have to reupholster those here sooner rather than later. Like I said, unfortunately, Mother Nature's definitely taking its toll on this poor old girl. I put some fluid film on the rust to hopefully help slow that down. I've always had good luck with fluid film and corrosion. But anyway, so as you can see, it's a little bit different setup than the 3/4 tons. You do have a 2-speed transfer case, which is nice. So you have your transfer case in and out here, your low and high here. Obviously your standard parking brake, standard 4-speed, and then that's your winch control there. And then it does have a little lockout, so can't really engage that while you're driving. Vacuum wipers, of course, those do work. Right now I do have it plugged off though, so I was able to dial in that carburetor. Got some leaking vacuum lines that need to be addressed, but they do work. It's a common overlooked item. If you have a pretty bad leak here, that will throw out your mixture significantly. So you always want to keep an eye on that. If you're having a rough idle, you definitely check for vacuum leaks up there. Like I said, we have the cargo bed here. The wood needs to be replaced at some point in time. It's not too high on the priority list right now. General overview there. We do have the top bows for it. Unfortunately, we got to get new canvas for it at some point in time. And then we have our back view. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I just want to kind of make a little update here on what's been going on with the collection. So we have this truck that I've been doing, as well as I've been working on the bedwood on the WC51. You can kind of see it coming together over there. I hope to have that here together soon, because that truck needs to get done. It's giving me anxiety thinking about it. So the command car's in my storage unit currently, because I'm going to get this truck in here and start getting some work done on it. But it's fully functional, as well as poor Francine here, kind of turned it into a storage unit. But she's good to go, as well as the G506. So hopefully soon we'll have a driving video of this old girl. Thank you for watching.